What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Back with my original segment, Boxingego's First Look, which is the tale of the tape, a sneak peek, a preview of the fight before the fight. Now, a rematch that I'm definitely looking forward to. January 28th, 2017, MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. You have unbeaten Carl Frampton defending his new featherweight title, the WBA title, against once beaten Leo Santa Cruz. And the only person to beat Leo Santa Cruz is Carl Frampton, and he did that last summer at the Barclays. This time it's happening on the West Coast, and I'm looking forward to this match. The first fight was definitely a barn burner. It was a fight of the year type. I definitely enjoyed it from start to finish. A lot of strategizing and game planning. You have Leo Santa Cruz, who's tall, volume guy. He got buckled early on, maybe in the first 2 rounds, and caught off balance. I don't know if he was caught off balance or if he was actually hurt. To me, it looked like he might have been buzzed a little bit as he staggered backwards. But Leo Santa Cruz regained himself and bit down, did like champions do, and he fought a good fight. And he came on strong in the second stanza, the second half of the fight. Carl Frampton, he looked good in there with the movement, upper body movement, faded a little bit. It was his first fight at the featherweight division, and repeat or revenge, that's the name of the game. Will this be a repeat of what happened the first time? This gives Carl Frampton the opportunity to acclimate, I guess you could say. He has one in now. He has some experience at the featherweight division versus before he came straight off of the Scott Quigg fight, if I'm not mistaken. Fought Scott Quigg and then immediately jumped up. Now, both fighters, I do have to add this, both fighters were heavily criticized because they avoided a fight with Guillermo Rigondeaux, who was in the 122-pound division. And after the Quigg win, Rigondeaux became Frampton's mandatory because obviously Frampton beat Scott Quigg via split decision. And Leo Santa Cruz made the plunge to featherweight a little bit earlier, but there was a long-standing beef or like a rumored fight between them two that the fans wanted to see, and neither of them stepped up to the Rigondeaux challenge, so I do have to note that. But what they gave us in their fight, their featherweight fight, was excitement. I was actually surprised in the first fight. It was at the Barclays. I know New York has a high Irish population, just the East Coast in general, Boston, areas like that, but they were actually booing Leo Santa Cruz, who's from California, based out of California, and Frampton had looked like the crowd support. So that kind of caught me off guard. I expected Leo Santa Cruz, I didn't expect him to get booed, I guess you could say. But now it's happening on the West Coast, so this might be the opposite because Leo Santa Cruz, he's from California, and all of his fans from the West Coast, his friends and family, they can make that drive from LA to Vegas, maybe a 4 or 5 hour drive, something like that. It's like a 1 hour, 45-minute flight. So he might be the crowd favorite. So things are interesting just with that coastal shift in part 1 and part 2. Also has a good co-main event. Mikey Garcia challenging WBC champion Dejan Zlaticanin from Montenegro. And I did a Boxingego First Look on that. Make sure you guys check that. That's already on the channel as well. And Showtime's getting it done. It's a good fight. First fight was an exciting fight, and we'll see what both fighters have learned from the first time. 2016 was a good year for Carl Frampton. As I mentioned, Carl Frampton in February, he beat Scott Quigg. That was a long-standing UK type of domestic rivalry, and he won the WBA championship belt at 122 when he beat Scott Quigg, and that's, like I said, Rigondeaux became his mandatory, and he decided to move up, said he wasn't making the weight comfortable, moved up to featherweight, and beat an undefeated Leo Santa Cruz, he hadn't had any losses, and he had some good performances. They have a mutual opponent in Kiko Martinez. They both have stoppage wins over Kiko Martinez, and I thought the first fight was explosive, and I'm really anxious to see. This is a hard fight to predict. I'm anxious to see what changes both make. Carl Frampton, he has the ability to acclimate a little bit better. It's no longer his first fight, so maybe he was playing it safe, and maybe he'll be a little bit looser in both halves of the fight, not just the first half and the second. You know what I mean? Maybe you'll have like more of a fluid game plan, because when you move up in weight, sometimes you have to pace yourself. You don't want to gas out, things like that. Carrying that extra. If you look at Frampton, he's real stocky, real muscular, and short. So maybe he had to pace himself, or maybe he fatigued a little bit, but now he has one fight in the books. Same thing with Leo Santa Cruz. He's no longer undefeated, and I know he's hungry, and he has the coast advantage too, just being on the West Coast in this particular fight, and I know he's hungry to get his belt back. So it's going to be anxious. I'm anxious to see what type of game plan both have. I know he's going to probably come at Carl Frampton like a raging bull. High volume. He's always the highest. Like, I think he might be the highest in the division in terms of punches thrown per round. He throws a lot of punches, and he seems pretty strong. He seems like he's acclimating at featherweight. His power seems to be showing up. He doesn't have one punch debilitating power, but Leo Santa Cruz has break you down, wear you down. If you're not mentally tough, if you're not in shape, those body shots, he'll tattoo your body and stuff and break you down. So this is a real good fight, very hard to predict, and I'm looking forward to the rematch to see who's going to come out on top in this particular one on a great Showtime card. Now let's take a look at the tail of the tape. Now the Jackal Carl Frampton is still undefeated. He has a perfect record of 23-0. Leo Santa Cruz has one loss. His record is 32-1 and one draw, and that one loss obviously was to Carl Frampton in his very last fight. The age, very close. 29 years old, Carl Frampton's age. Leo Santa Cruz is 28 years old. The height advantage goes to Leo Santa Cruz, who's 5'7.5", and Carl Frampton is listed at 5'5". This is a featherweight bout taking place at 126 pounds, and then the reach advantage also goes to the taller man, Leo Santa Cruz. He has a reach of 69 inches to Carl Frampton's 62 inches. Now, this is what I like about good fights like this. Interesting style matchups. I think the first fight proves who's the better boxer fundamentally, movement, slicker defense, and that's Carl Frampton. But you can't count Leo Santa Cruz out. He's a volume guy, he's rugged, he's tough, he's durable, and I'm anxious to see what he learned from the first fight and maybe mistakes watching the tape back. And he's a volume guy. He's gonna come seek and destroy while throwing a lot of punches, a lot of body shots. And both fighters have to be on their A game as far as I'm concerned. And they both have said stuff to the press about making this fight eclipse the first fight, and this is going to be a better fight. And it could be. It's going to be hard to top, but we've seen in boxing Arturo Gatti and Mickey Ward, or Juan Manuel Marquez and Manny Pacquiao, constantly, every time they fight, it's a war. And we might get something like that in this particular fight. I think both fighters are mentally tough, durable. There's a championship belt on the line, and this also sets up big paydays in the future. Abner Matas looked really good in his last fight against Jesus Cuellar, became a champion. They also put Lee Selby on the undercard of this particular card. So there's some options in or around the division that make things interesting. Gary Russell Jr. There's some options for some really good fights for the winner. So I know that's going to be added momentum. And like I said, just because it's going to be the grudge from the first fight was the fight of the year. A lot of people had Carl Frampton as their fighter of the year 2016 for being Scott Quigg at 122 and then beating Leo Santa Cruz. Scott Quigg also moved up to the division of featherweight 126. So there's a lot of action, a lot of options for the winner, and this should be an exciting fight just like the first fight. They're switching coasts, but I think the attitude is the same. Carl Frampton, he made a comment that he's going to have 4,000 plus people from Ireland travel to see this fight. And I mean, if he wins this fight again, he's going to start developing that UK Ricky Hatton type of swag where, you know what I mean, people are going to travel to see his fights. And both guys have an exciting style, especially meshed together. It just gels really well. Let me know who you think wins this particular fight. I'm looking forward to a great fight, Frampton versus Santa Cruz 2. Drop your fight predictions below in the comment section. Make sure you share the video, like the video as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button. And you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.